Greetings, YouTube. Regardless of what happens with this new 6-star series on my channel, I feel like this is one of the most important videos I've ever made because I think it is a chance for me to have an honest discussion and dialogue, take it as you will, about the perspective regarding intent versus perceived intent in conversations. And it's a conversation that I have with my students every semester when we talk about the news, right? I do think there's two extremes that are both dangerous to society. There's one extreme that you can call it, and I've seen cancel culture on both sides, right? I've seen the far right try to cancel Nike or Disney, the far left, you name it. So cancel culture exists on the extremes of both political ideologies. But the bottom line is, if you subconsciously look for reasons to be offended, regardless of your political beliefs, on a daily basis, you will find them out there. And once you find them, it can be pretty addicting to get out of that, because it's fun to go on the internet for people and be part of not only something that you feel like is a bigger part of yourself, which can feel altruistic, but also even to be part of this mob, right? This mob of people that think they're doing the Lord's work, or whatever you want to call it. If you're confused why the heck I'm making this video, last night on July 3rd, after my community voted for the next 6-star to be hunted was Shang-Chi, which, by the way, I mispronounced Shang-Chi. I used to say Shang-Chi because that's how my English would read it. And I've worked really hard to say how his name's supposed to be pronounced, because I think that is the most respectful way to handle a character. I think anyone whose name is supposed to be pronounced a certain way, you should work to learn it. I can't tell you how many different names I've taught over the years. I've been teaching college classes since 2007, where I've had to learn, I don't care if it's international students' names or just unique pronunciations, or sometimes a student just wants to go by a nickname, even if it's different than their name on the roster, and I do my best to accommodate that student. That's me trying to tell you this, because in no way was I going into the hunt for Shang-Chi for it to be any attempt or any intent at anything that could be perceived or goaled to be racist. And yet, when I put a poll up last night, we had 4 different options that people could vote on, and I left the poll up for over 10 minutes. And there was everything from hunt for Lord of the Rings, which I think we used on the 5-star hunt, to hunt for the 10 Rings. There was hunt for Bruce Lee. And there was a 4th option that was, I think, the last one that was like in a distant 4th. Now, we had a discussion in the comments, and there were close to 200 people at one point in the comments. And nobody ever brought up in that discussion, boy, I think, Prof, this could be a really racist, offensive name to say Bruce Lee, who was a famous American martial artist from decades ago, highly influential in pop culture. And so, by about 6 to 7%, the Bruce Lee name hunt won. And on my channel, we have a rule that, majority rules. This is how I work out my tier list too. Oftentimes, my preference may be different than who the community votes, but guess what? The community overrides me, and I think that's the way it should be. If you read that as Prof thinks all Asians are Bruce Lee, I can assure you that was not my intent. And I can assure you that that wasn't the intent of not only the people who nominated that and voted on it, but also just the community as a whole. I am not going to immediately change the name of the hunt just because some percent of the community thinks it's racist. In my head, the irony is, I thought we were honoring one of the most influential people in martial arts culture in the history of the world by naming it Bruce Lee. You know, if you were naming it some really negative icon that did horrible things in culture, I can see how that could be a bad idea, because I wouldn't want to ever make the comparison that has somebody be a negative influence. But Bruce Lee is someone that actually motivated the martial arts movement, not just for Asian Americans, shall we say, but for the world. He was a global superstar. And so, in attempting to honor him, and I think that's really what the discussion was last night in the live stream, in attempting to honor him, it's also been perceived as somehow defaming him. And I just want you to know the intent, my intent, the community's intent is the exact opposite. Now, if the community, if the comment section of this video just overwhelmingly says it's in bad taste and I don't care what the intent is, then we can revisit another title. But I'm not going to immediately do that just because there was some negative feedback on the first video. But I do think this is an opportunity to learn and to grow together and to have an honest discussion. These conversations aren't easy. They're not always fun, but they're important. And I felt the desire to make this video on my channel to clear the air on why the hunt is now called what it is, and to say, you know, in my mind, personally, it's a title that honors the legacy of a man. It doesn't defame or automatically stereotype a certain race or ethnicity of people. And you might read the title and disagree, but that's where the intent is coming from. And on my channel, I do not shy away from tough conversations. I do not shy away from things that are difficult topics. I'm not saying that that means I'm always right. In fact, I feel like sometimes I'm wrong daily. But I'm not afraid to be wrong and to admit when I'm wrong. And I think that's important too. It's not worth dying on a hill just to die on a hill. Sometimes if you realize there's a better hill to gravitate toward, that's a healthier hill with better grass, say, it's good to go there. But you shouldn't automatically run away from something just because somebody has a problem with it. You should take it as an opportunity for honest, real, vulnerable conversation. And I think that's what's missing in this internet culture of ours. It used to be where you could have coffee with somebody that disagreed with you, and once you got to know them, even if you still disagreed, you could walk away as friends. Now it's like if somebody disagrees with you, they're the mortal enemy of you forever because they clearly are evil and you are good. And that is, I think, what the devil's work really wants you to do, to hate your enemy based off of some perceived intent that's oftentimes the opposite of what their intent is. So that concludes this video. Let me know what you think of the name of the new hunt. I will seriously read every comment on this thread and take that into consideration going forward, but I'm not automatically going to change it just because there was some backlash. I think this is an opportunity to have this conversation.